Hi guys, it's
Okay.
Gray and Chris,
Yeah.
your president secretary. So we just went to UKEC Project Amanat Negara,
Yeah.
aka UKEC PAN, the 10th one. So it's like X. What do you think of it? What do you think? I mean, obviously it's a Malaysian event. You're not Malaysian, but what do you think?
Yeah. I think this conference is amazing. That I got a lot of knowledge from there, including the economic and the marketing and the democracy. Because I never get in touch with these sort of things before.
So this is the flyer we picked up.
Yeah.
Really nice stuff. So like different panels. So like, what do you
Yeah.
think? I mean, we went through the whole thing. I'm sure you understood most of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like the first section, corporate globalizing the Malaysian market.
Globalizing.
You remember that, right?
Yes, I remember that. I think the first guy,
Yeah.
his name it's really difficult to
Dat-
pronounce.
Tan Sri Datu Sri Lodin
Yeah,
Wak Kamarudin.
yes,
Yeah,
it's such a long name. I can't pronounce it. But
Okay.
I think he's a really remarkable man because talking about the globalizing marketing. I think about that. It's relevant to our society because our society it will be a global society.
I mean,
Maybe.
yeah, it's the whole East
Yeah,
Asia. He
whole
did
East
mention
Asia.
that as well at some point.
Yeah, but just I think that we can just get some information from this person's
His
something.
talk.
His talk.
Hopefully UKC will. I mean, I saw them record it, so maybe they're gonna put it online. We'll see
Yeah.
whether we can show it to our members or not.
Yeah.
Then there's this lady, Dato Padukas TT Sadia Sheikh Bakir. She's the hospital one. Remember?
Yes,
I mean, like I don't know much about healthcare in China. I mean, is there anything we can compare?
Yes, I can compare to China because I think just the situation of the healthcare in Malaysia is better than China because in China that even hospital is probably larger than Malaysia and not larger than UK, but
Larger, like
larger, bigger.
Okay.
Okay, but because the population in China is very
also very big anyway,
big anyway. So there's a lot of people that still have to wait a long time, even they book appointment.
Are there private hospitals in China?
Yes, they began to set up a lot of private hospital because government cannot offer the finance.
So
on
it's
the,
a new thing. It's a new thing, is it? Is it recent?
It's not a new thing because it has happened now.
Okay. Then there's this other guy. What did he talk about? Oh, he's the Shah Hakim Zain. He was
Yeah.
former. Oh no, this is the guy that was making the public transport stuff,
Yeah,
buses
public
and trains
transport.
and stuff.
Just too much surprised that when the information show from this guy showed me that Hitachi and Toshiba.
Yeah, apparently Hitachi is one of his competitors. I mean, like I didn't even know
It's a
Malaysia made that many stuff.
Public transport competitor. So
I didn't even know we made those things, but apparently they
Yeah.
hire like hundreds of people in
Yeah.
Indonesia, which is quite interesting in itself.
Yeah.
So the second section was session 2, civil society, the
Yeah.
rise of civil society. Is Malaysia moving towards a direct democracy? What do you think of that? I mean, there was talk about like different party
Yeah.
stuff, free speech, and all that. What do you think?
Because you know that democracy is relevant to the policy. Alright,
Yeah.
a lot of political things is very sensitive to China. So, but I can think about it because only one party in China. So
It's a single
some
party
people,
system.
single party, but some people they believe this China try to oppose democracy, but just for the fundamental reason that there is only single party at this moment. Might be in the future will be 2 or 3 more, might be.
Okay.
Because in my opinion, alright, the democracy is mean that a lot of people, different social class, and they go to street and do the demonstrate and make everything in a mess. It's a very negative
Well,
part.
yeah, but like
But this lady, Claire,
Claire
she showed me,
Riston Brown.
yeah, she showed me just the true meaning of democracy. It means that the people they have the power to rule. So it means why that there's still, I suppose, she want to tell me that there's another positive information identified for democracy this word for example that just people that work in a group they can show they have the power to show he share his opinion or to tell
Yeah,
the
like
leader his
she was actually, I mean, within her context, she's Claire Royston Brown. She works as the Sarawak Sarawak
yeah.
Report. She runs a radio channel in Sarawak. And actually, from her point of view, because she
Yeah.
runs a radio channel in Malaysia,
Yeah.
there isn't so much censorship, but in the sense that they have to register their radio. So if they break any rules, then their radio will be shut down. So it's
Yeah.
not the same as censorship in China. It's
Just
different.
like it's back to
I
the
know.
media, but in I I asked Claire and just
I mean, you spoke to her directly, isn't
yeah,
it?
just
Got a
spoke to
picture of that as well.
Yeah, and then I just asked her if the government or some media company they thought your report or your news is too long, they want
Too
to
long.
maybe it's too
Oh, there's the one she mentioned about the
mentioned about-
BBC riots and Malaysian, apparently one of the sponsors, which is at the back of the book,
yeah.
Astro.
She does
they-
mention this, but just talk about this sort of things because sometimes some government or organization they will use the excuse to say that okay that we have no too much time, no plan of time for this report, so we need to cut this short. Okay, so that just cut something they dislike.
Okay. I don't know, but then we
But
have.
she sounds very angry with this behavior by
She
from
seems to
government.
be. I mean, she's about free speech because if
Yeah,
people
free
can't
speech.
discuss and know everything, then how can they discuss a problem properly if they don't know
But she tell
everything?
me that what is the free speech? Just people have the power to show their opinion to the other person. That's it.
Yeah, do you remember anything of the other two? I mean, I know Claire spoke like a lot of stuff, but what about Angela Yap, the one sitting in the middle, and the other guy, Professor Madhya
Unfortunately, just
Doctor?
I have no time
So
to
they didn't-
talk to these two person before
Okay,
lunch.
okay,
It's lunch
not a
time.
personal, but do you remember anything they said?
Sort of things like the democracy, something.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously Claire overshadowed
quite
them
similar,
with her
yeah.
points. Yes, similar. Okay. Between the second and third session, there's a lunch break. But before that, there was this guy, Sheikh Sabri. I'll admit, I didn't know much about him. I don't know much about football either. But apparently, he's the global brand guy for Blackburn Rovers or something. And he brought up a point talking about how we could possibly improve the Football Association of Malaysia, how that's related to like branding and the hierarchy and everything.
Pick to the branding. He
yeah.
mentioned so many times is we don't need the development, we need a campaign. Like
Yeah, he was saying he
like
was-
a war.
Yeah, like he was saying how none of the Malaysian clubs own their own stadium and that funding academies is a bad thing. I mean, I don't really know much
I
about
think
it, but
he should be work for army because he will be a good soldier.
he wants to be the sports
I just
minister.
think
or
about
something.
it. I just think about this question. Okay, if you don't develop your skill
Yeah.
of your football team, football member in team, alright, then just how did you win a campaign?
Well, yeah, I mean, unless you have a good team, you can't do anything, right? You mentioned something about Chinese football. It's not that great either.
Yeah, because Chinese football they need so many campaigns. They don't get any.
Do you know any? I mean, do you know? I mean, okay. If you ask me, I don't know the name of any Malaysian footballers. Apparently, not as famous as like English ones like David Beckham or Rooney.
I
and
don't-
stuff like that.
I
Do you
don't
know
want to-
any Chinese footballers? Name one name, anything.
I don't.
At all.
I don't
Okay,
have.
clearly they have a marketing problem. They should hire him as well.
Okay, you mean the Chinese football club
Any
name?
famous Chinese footballer, the person.
Football
Person,
player.
yeah,
Okay,
player,
person.
You know? No? Not really.
Alright, I
Oh well,
forgot
too bad.
already
If
because
any of you are watching this and you know something about football, talk to us. Okay, we'll put you on. You don't know anything.
yeah.
The third section was religion fundamental changes necessary or mere political rhetoric. This comes. They were talking more about Islamic things within the scope of Malaysia, how that the implementation of hudud, which I don't really know much about, and the whole controversy about non-Muslims being able to say the word Allah, which I just said. So what's your point of view on that? I mean, like, okay, there were three speakers. One was Associate Professor Dr. Bridget Welsh, who raised the point about her coming from the Irish background, so she sees it in a different way. Then there's this guy, young Berhormat Nick Nazmi Nick Ahmad. He was from the UKEC as well, so he came back to speak, so called. He's working for like one of the political parties now, and this guy, which is I found is really interesting. He's from Egypt, Sheikh Ahmad Muhammad Saad Ash Shafi Al-Zari Al-Hassani. I'm sorry if I mispronounced anything, but I'll call him the Sheikh because he was quite funny, it's quite interesting, and he's actually the Imam of the North London Central Mosque, so he seems to bring really good context to it. I mean, what do you think about this whole thing?
Because when I listen to religion topic, alright, just I have a question is that because in the Malaysia, there is so many religion schools, just like in the UK, they will send their children to a church school.
That's not entirely necessary. I mean, like if because within the context of Malaysia is that it's a majority Muslim country. If you're Muslim, then you go to mosque and things like that. If you're Christian, you go to all that as well. You can do that. I myself, I'm not religious, so I'm not forced to go to any school.
Because it's just in China, alright. It's quite similar to Malaysia, but
similar. I mean, not really. The Malaysian government is officially Islamic, whereas the Chinese is supposed to be atheist or something. The habit. Okay. What do you mean?
Because you know that there's 55 minority in China.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So these minorities, they will send their children to their. They will set up some
the minority ethnicities
because they have their culture. For example, like Xinjiang province.
Okay. Xinjiang. Okay.
Yes. So the minority living in Xinjiang, they will send their children to
have
study.
a special school.
Special school, to study some stuff of their own, and like Xinjiang as well.
They mentioned that there was one guy who asked a question whether vernacular Methodist or madrasa schools, basically race-type schools in Malaysia, were still necessary. So is that something like that? It's like all Chinese people go to a Chinese school, Indian people go to Indian school. Do they do that in China?
Quite similar because in China, alright, the minority in Xinjiang, they will go to their school their own but their school and a lot of stuff in their school. I mean the facility is very poor because the school is set up in the outskirts.
So is it like a rural school?
Like a rural school
for minor ethnicities?
Yes, that's it.
We might talk more about that at some point because obviously I've never been to that part of China. I don't really know. I assume everybody is
because every person, every minority or majority, and anyway, they will hope their children can continue to
the
learn.
heritage for economy, resisting shocks from the global economy. Obviously, you kind of fell asleep. This guy, his name is Dr. Nung Sahiri Ahmad Radi. He came all the way from Malaysia I'm not sure what time in the morning, but he left again for a plane at 7, so he was here literally for less than a day. So he must have had something very important to tell us, and I found that the most important section was that he wanted us to be more entrepreneurial, like the burden is on the young people or something. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, because I know from my point of view that in Asia, failure is a very bad thing, so people don't dare to try new things, and he was mentioning how people don't seem to do this and we think we need more. Even some other guy.
I don't think just all guys in Asia, they don't like to try the new things. For example, in China, right? The economy in China, they raised it dramatically.
Raised it what?
Raised dramatically.
Geometrically? What do you mean by that?
Just mean that increased rapidly.
Oh, it went up.
Go up rapidly, and so a lot of people are getting rich, and they will spend their money in a lot of luxury, Gucci.
But he means like entrepreneur, like start a new company, like dare to try things that no one else has tried before. So
because
is this common in China? I mean, do they do anything?
Yes, it's also coming. It's also common in China. Think about that. Just in Shanghai, okay? There's a lot of people.
So it's usually in the big cities.
Only people only set up new company in the big city because you know that no one will set up a company in Xinjiang.
I don't really know where that is, but I will assume that
because it is a very cool place in China.
So he sticks to the six, but never mind. So in the fifth section, which is at the end, It was a session 5 public policy. They specifically, I mean, you might not get the context, but they were talking about the 13th general elections of Malaysia, scrutinizing public policy. There were 3 guys on stage. One guy was Dr. Ibrahim Sufyan. Another one was Dr. Adam. He's not on this book for whatever reason. I only get this. Roger Petra was also there, so he's not in the book, I assume, for political reasons. But they did talk a lot about how in the multi-party system, they were supposed to come up with a third side. It was something about the main government, the current people, then a bunch of new parties created an opposition. So they have 2 sides. Then Raja Petra and his gang wanted to make like a third group to kind of like be a 3-way. I mean, this is the part I don't get it.
Yeah.
Why is it a problem to have 3 sides in an argument?
Yeah.
Shouldn't it mean like you have the checks and balance? I mean, I don't really get it. Obviously, in China, you only have 1 side, and in Malaysia, we only had like 1 side plus a lot of other little things, and now it's become 2-sided. So there's a massive like discussion about that, how people should like eventually come out. They think this is the election of elections in Malaysia, the third election. Obviously, it seems to be like this year or something, and I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, as someone who doesn't know much about Malaysian politics, but you hear about it, what are your first impressions?
I just think about that, just because you can't use this sort of things to analyze Chinese political.
Yeah.